You gotta put your big boy pants on, put your big girl panties on, and say, you know what? Whatever we're arguing about, and I tell you right now, here's a little blueprint. Here's a little secret. A man will say, "I'm sorry" or "I apologize" before a woman will. A woman will come out and make some sort of conversation towards the issue. Like, hey, what are your thoughts on this? Or like what I said yesterday, or like they'll skirt around an apology. And I know I'll get a lot of heat for this, and I would love to hear
I'm gonna say this, Phil. It sounds to me like you haven't been in very many healthy arguments because
I disagree. I've been in a lot of healthy disagreements. Yo, what's up, everybody? This is Philosophical, and welcome to the Let's Rap podcast.
This is Jay Echo. What's popping?
Another episode here is what we're going to be talking about. Are arguments healthy in a relationship?
Yes.
I think, if you would ask anybody in a relationship, we would get many different answers. I do think arguments are a sort of communication.
It depends on how you're arguing, though.
Some people have different types of arguments.
Yeah.
I think people use arguments as a way of leverage or advantages. Or
see, that to me sounds like an unhealthy way of arguing. Like,
correct. And there are healthy ways, there are unhealthy ways. I think there are tones of how people talk to each other, and I feel like there are borderline. It can be disrespectful. And sometimes, we as men and women argue in different ways, playful ways. It can be violent, verbal abuse. Sometimes it can get physical.
That's not an argument. That's a fight. Yeah.
I mean, some people quote unquote categorize that as an argument.
Okay.
You'd be surprised. Sometimes those things come from an argument, or sometimes from the most, meticulous and littlest things. In my personal opinion, I think arguments are a way, and this is just my opinion, arguments are a way of learning, first, how will you react when things get tough? That's one. Two, how does the other person kind of understand your point just as much as you understand theirs? Three, how you react after the argument. Sometimes people have ways of saying, you know what, I'm going to step away from the situation. I'm going to step away from it and kind of let it cool down, and we'll come back to it. Sometimes, in my personal opinion, my household, we don't go 24 hours without speaking to each other. You know what I mean? We try to have a discussion. If we had a bad argument or upset at each other, or whatever the case may be, we don't go past 24 hours because, some men out here are like, man, this is my house. I'm not sleeping on the couch. You know what I mean? Like, and it's arguments can be healthy in a relationship. It's just all about how you learn from those arguments.
Yeah, there are caveats to all of it.
Yeah, because some relationships you're having the same arguments, and that just describes a situation where you can be at a bypass to where, all right, we're not getting anywhere. This is the same argument over and over and over again.
Yeah, I've been in that situation before.
Yeah, and by all means, man, I think we as people have got to get over this honeymoon facade. Like, oh, we never argue. Oh man, we never go through that.
If anybody says they don't argue, they haven't been together long enough. That's all.
No.
No, I
I don't.
mean,
I don't think that's
I'm
the
not
case.
even saying like, oh, people, what's it called? People can't have healthy disagreements. That's not what I'm saying. But
Mhm.
everybody has that one thing that's going to push them over the line, you know?
Correct.
And
Correct.
especially in a situation where like you guys are literally starting to commingle lives and people are figuring out each other's lines and all of that sort of thing. There
And
are
some
going to
arguments are
be
out of your
arguments.
control.
Yeah.
You can have a bad day at work, and I know sometimes you don't want to be bothered, or you don't want to be you know you know like if something's really on your mind, like, man, I don't want to be bothered. And sometimes you may say things that are like, you may not mean at that moment. So in other terms,
Mhm.
it's like, yeah, in other terms, it could be a situation where you I think sometimes we as men, we tend to we talked about this. We tend to overthink things just as much as women do. You know,
We don't just overthink things. We overthink things and then we bottle it up. So
yeah, yeah,
it
yeah,
ends up as this like explosive mix that our other person catches hell off of, and we,
yeah,
you know.
yeah, yeah. And it's one of those things where it's like the end result is what happens after the argument.
Mhm.
You know, sometimes arguments in the physical. I'm talking sexual. Some arguments, some arguments end where it could be a complete breakup.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, personally, I have not ended up in a position where I've gotten the first one you've talked about. I mean, I'm looking for it, but it's never happened to me.
no, I don't want that. I've been there. I've been
I
there.
mean, I'm not saying on a consistent basis because we got to resolve our issues at some point. But
Some
I ain't
people
even
having
had it.
arguments every day.
See, if you're having arguments every day, you need to examine your relationship. But
Correct.
you know,
So the main point is, are relationships healthy?
I
I
mean,
I, I would say yes, to a certain extent. Uh, if you're learning from the argument, one.
yeah.
If you're listening to your partner, considering your
Hmm.
partner's feelings just as much as they're considering and listening to yours.
Hmm.
Uh, and the most important thing, I think, in some relationships in regards to relationships is being able to be the bigger man and apologize.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? I know that's
yes,
tough. I know that's tough.
yeah.
I know that's tough. If you feel you're in the wrong, if you feel like you're in the, I'm not wrong, she's wrong, or she may be thinking, he's not wrong. I mean, I'm not wrong, he's wrong.
Mhm.
Sometimes, for the sake of the peace in your house and in your household and your relationship, sometimes you gotta just put your big boy pants on, put your big girl panties on, and say, you know what? Whatever we're arguing about, and I tell you right now, here's a little blueprint. Here's a little secret. A man will say, "I'm sorry" or "I apologize" before a woman will. A
Mhm.
woman will come out and make some sort of conversation towards the issue. Like, hey, what are your thoughts on this? Or like what I said yesterday, or like they'll skirt around an apology. And I know I'll get a lot of heat for this, and I would love to hear the
I'm gonna say this, Phil. It
uh,
sounds to me like you haven't been in very many healthy arguments because I've
uh, I
now
disagree.
mind you, I've
I've been in a
definitely
lot
been
of
in.
healthy disagreements. I've been in a
I mean,
lot of healthy disagreements, and not one I'm
I,
sorry or apologizing in any of them.
I mean,
I,
see, the fact that they're not willing to apologize or admit that they're wrongdoing tells me that now I'm not saying they weren't
People
necessarily
have
good, but
different
they
ways of
might not they might
apologizing.
have needed to do some a little bit more work,
No,
because
no,
I
no.
know.
Women have different ways of apologizing. They're not going to come out and say, "I'm sorry."
Here's what I'll say.
Okay.
If your woman or man, whoever, has a quote unquote different way of apologizing, it needs to match up with what you expect in terms of an apology, right? Because for instance, if we have a disagreement, me and you, okay, Phil, and I know I'm wrong in the moment, I will say to you, "Yo, my bad. Like, I guess I was wrong in this situation." Huh?
Nah, you won't.
Now, if I disagree with you and I don't believe I'm wrong, I'll say, "Hey, you are perfectly able to, like, you can have your opinion, I will have mine, but I'm good." Like,
do you know how many episodes we have recorded and you have been wrong? How many apologies I've gotten? 0.
Bruh, just because we have a difference of opinion does not mean I'm wrong. So
0. I just want the people.
You're not going to get an apology for my opinion. Now,
I just want the people out there to know that out of the 26 episodes we've done, and Jay has been wrong, and I have gotten 0 apologies.
Okay, see, first of all, you've been wrong just as many times, and I ain't gotten 1 apology.
Oh, that's not true. That's not true.
Name a situation, because see,
episode 7.
Bro, you don't even remember what episode 7 was. Tell me right now.
It's there. It's there for people to go back and listen to it. I said it.
Check episode 7. See which one of us was wrong. Tell us in the comments. That's what it is.
So. Back to it, you know, it's just now even a man may not come out and say apologize.
Yeah, but like at the end, my larger point was like, we were talking about healthy ways of arguing earlier. Mm-hmm. Like, you also need to figure out, and this is a conversation that might happen, like this is another one of those uncomfortable conversations, but like, if you do something wrong, it's not on the other person. I mean, you don't decide how the other person, whether or not the other person accepts your apology or forgives you or whatever the case. Like, we've talked numerous times about if somebody is treating you wrong in a relationship, it is on them to make amends. It is not on you to just accept some random thing as an apology, right? So I'm not going to then say in an argument it's different. Like, if you have a disagreement and somebody is genuinely wrong, now there's a difference between we just have different opinions and somebody being genuinely wrong.
Yeah,
you know,
yep.
If somebody is genuinely wrong, i.e., like, oh, somebody lied in a certain situation, somebody, you know, whatever the case may be, the person who did wrong, it's on them to make amends. It's on them to apologize. And it's up to the other person to decide whether or not they are willing to accept that apology.
Yeah.
Now, at a certain point, you are going to have to meet the person who did you wrong halfway if you want that situation to continue. That is the big if. If you want to continue in that relationship, then at some point you're going to have to meet them halfway. If you don't, wash your hands of them, keep it pushing. Like, don't nobody care. But an apology has to happen because that is a person genuinely acknowledging and recognizing that I was wrong in this situation. I'm not talking about difference of opinion, Phil.
So pretty much our relationships healthy. Relationships can be healthy as long as one, you're establishing a tone of communication. 2, you're considering each other's feelings within that disagreement. Mm-hmm. I'll even harbor back to the tone. Like, arguments, not everybody argues in a yelling or physical or even a violent tone. Sometimes disagreements can be one person being in the living room and another person being upstairs somewhere, just in a condescending way, or even like a way of like, I didn't like what you said to me, or those type of disagreements.
Yeah.
3, as long as you guys have established a tone of, if we're going to disagree on something, we're not going to let it affect our relationship as a whole. You've come to some sort of agreement within yourselves that no matter what, we're going to get through this. No matter what, if we have one disagreement, that doesn't stop the communication. You don't want to stop communication from each other. 4,
The second the communication stops, the relationship is done, basically.
No, so. Granted, their caveat. I mean, if you're had a disagreement yesterday and you haven't talked in in a couple hours, no, that's a little bit unreasonable. We're talking like 2, 3, 4.
I'm talking extremes, not
extremes. Yeah. And then 5, just making sure that men and women, they're sometimes being the better man or the better woman to say, I apologize. Just understand and know that certain people have certain things they do or certain things they say to say, I apologize. It can be just a matter of bringing up the conversation again. It can be a matter of saying, hey, I apologize, or like, hey, I shouldn't have said that, or like, hey, I didn't feel that way. This is what's going on. Just developing that communication within each other to break down that disagreement you have, to where, yes, you may have it again, but you know how to handle it when those type of issues arrive again. So pretty much are relationships healthy? Yes.
Arguing in relationships
healthy? Yes. To a certain extent, as long as you're not being physical or violent, or to a point where, if it's at a point where you're yelling at each other and you're tired of each other, you're disgruntled with each other, you're 1 foot out the door, those are different conversations. Some people use arguments and disagreements and picking what we call, quote unquote, picking a fight to get out of a situation. When all you have to say from the beginning is, hey, this isn't working out. You either want to describe why it's not working out, or you want to walk away from the situation. Don't waste time. And it just escalates. It gets worse.
Yeah.
So are arguments healthy in a relationship? Yes. But if it's too extreme and it's other agendas and, you have alternative motives, no, they're not healthy at all.
Yeah.
Sometimes arguments are a way of communicating with each other. Yes. That's the healthy part about it. So we would love to hear what you guys think about it. This is probably another episode. Jay was wrong, but I will not get an apology. That's the caveat.
Because I wasn't wrong. I mean, technically, we agreed the entire episode, but still, I'm somehow wrong.
And maybe he'll email the apology or text it to me. Or
I ain't emailing you nothing. I ain't texting you nothing. I barely text you when we ain't got a disagreement.
That is cool. I was even gonna say maybe he'll put it on social media, but I won't count on that either. Maybe he'll say it in the echo chamber.
Maybe. Who knows?
So we would love to hear you guys' thoughts. Love to hear you guys' comments on this, ladies and gentlemen.
Me personally, I want to hear what was the pettiest argument you ever had.
Oh yeah. So if you guys are listening and watching this on YouTube, like and subscribe to our page. Comment down below. Love to hear your comments and thoughts on this. On to the next one. This is Philosophical. And I'm out.
Take it easy.